Blade fans, subscribe to Blades Ramble. Up the Blades.
Love that. Love that. What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. Thank you to Matilda Shakes for allowing us to continuing to allow us to use their music. Support local bands. They are an absolutely fantastic local band. And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. What do you think? What do you think to the new do? It's a bit drastic, isn't it? It's a bit drastic. But I have started on the Ramble fitness program. So we are anything I can do to lose any weight at all. I reckon I've lost about 2 pounds. I was saying it in group the other day after having that haircut. So it was long overdue. Thank you, everybody, for joining me today. I have spent ages putting this video together today. I know it's live, and I'm not used to doing prep anymore. Just cards on the table. You know how things are. So I spent most of the day doing the video today. I hope it's recognised in the way that it comes out. But if not, you know, we still enjoy putting it together, don't we? So this is maybe a little window into what might happen if the Ramble ever gets to go full time, which we're inching closer to as a possibility. And in no small part to our sponsors. So, you know, I'm going to go on to talk about our main channel sponsor in a second. But I also let you know in the last video that I'm delighted to say, we've extended our deal with VMB Auto Centers. And thank you to Aaron and the team there for extending the deal with the Ramble. And I've talked about them just fleetingly in the past. So if you want to know a little bit more about them, here it is. Check out VMB Auto Center in Handsworth, where your vehicle's needs come first. Located at Unit 32, Orgreave Close in Sheffield, they offer same-day tyre fitting and MOTs while you wait, as well as comprehensive vehicle servicing. Relax in the comfortable reception area with free Wi-Fi and drinks, or maybe you fancy their free local collect and deliver service. Book now at vmbautocenters.co.uk or call 0114 322 446. And now they're offering 10% services off for Ramblers on tyres, servicing and MOTs. Just mention the word Ramble when you book and check the link in the description. Visit VMB Auto Centre today for quality care and transparent prices. How about that? Put that advert together all by myself, as if you couldn't tell. Thank you to VMB for their support. I need to work out how to get that on full screen rather than me waving in background. But yeah, thank you to them for their support. Also, thank you to main channel sponsor, Action Coach Sheffield. Thank you, John, for your continued support, pal. If you are a growing business and want support to continue that growth, they are the people to speak to. And for those of you that aren't aware, there is a growth club going on from Action Coach. That is 90 days of success. On Friday, the 5th of July, for special business planning and strategy day, it's hosted by John from Action Coach, a fantastic business coach who's helped me throughout. So there's a special guest, Jamil Qureshi. So at the Growth Club, what they do is get you together and put a plan together for your business for the next 90 days. That is something I did on the 5th of April. I'll be going again. It's at Bramall Lane in Sheffield. I think it says on there, don't it? Sheffield United Football Ground. Friday, the 5th of July. Absolutely brilliant event. And I would recommend anybody checking that out. And not just because they're a sponsor of the channel, but because I've seen the true benefit. I wouldn't genuinely back anything for you guys to do without experiencing it myself or having high opinion of it myself. If you've seen some changes in the Ramble over the last couple of months, then John's got an awful lot to do with that. So thank you to them for the support. Now, we are here to start what we love doing on the Ramble. On the last video, we set the table. We did the squad build. For those of you that missed it, or just to remind you, this is what our squad depth looks like currently. Absolutely shocking. We graded it with 2 players for each position out of 5 each. We ended up with Gerbic being a 1 and Luke Faxon, as he was unproven, as a 2. That's a standard for an unproven player in our ranking system, whether you agree with that or not. So today, we're looking at goalkeepers. And what I've done, a similar sort of way to smooth it all out. There's so many goalkeepers available. You can pick players and all this sort of thing, but I've done my research. Some of it may be wrong, so don't come at me if I've got one or two bits wrong. But to try and straighten it out a little bit, because we're so up in the air with the takeover and how much money we've got to spend and whether we're going to really go for it like was the intention. But does that, now that might mean something totally different. That might mean funds are going to be properly invested into the team. Or are we going worst case scenario where we're looking at free transfers and loans? So what I've done, I've set it into 3 categories. I'm going to give you 5 goalkeepers for free, 5 goalkeepers that's realistic currently in my mind, and 5 goalkeepers that are ideal. So a little bit like the thumbnail we're alluding to, we're going to look at 5 free, 5 realistic, and 5 ideal goalkeepers. And let's get started. So I'm starting on my number 5 free goalkeeper. We're starting on the free list. Now remember this, we need 2 goalkeepers. So these names might not jump out at you. Oh yes, we need to sign him. Some of them might be a solid backup. So my first one might come out of left field a little bit. I saw some of the early comments mention Loris Karius, whatever he's called. I've not gone for him. I'm thinking about low-end budget with this list. And, you know, if we haven't got a lot of money, this is what we're looking at. Liam Roberts. Liam Roberts, and a lot of you will be like, what? Who is Liam Roberts? Well, Liam Roberts has just been released by Middlesbrough. He played for Barnsley last season. And as you can see there in the stats, he's 29 years old. And he was in the League 2 team of the season. He was number 2 at Middlesbrough. I'm pretty sure he played a couple of games under Wilder as a steady number 2. And I don't think he'd be bad backup as an option to our number 1 goalkeeper, which we'll obviously come on to later on. But Liam Roberts, League 1 team of the season for Northampton. He kept 20 clean sheets in that time, didn't renew his contract and signed for Middlesbrough. Obviously didn't get much game time at Middlesbrough. And then went out on loan to Barnsley last season and played 27 games as they got into the playoffs in League 1. So I don't think that's a bad option. I think that's quite steady, to be honest. Let me know what you think about that. That's quite a controversial shout. This is the way it'll go. I'm going to run through my 3 lists and then I'll catch up with the comments afterwards, if that's okay. Number 4 on my free agents list is John Ruddy. 37 years old, which is obviously the huge kicker against John. Big John Ruddy, 6'4", player of the season, 22-23, and had another strong season last season in a team that unfortunately went down, but they were very poor, and he played his part. John Ruddy, a lot of experience, former England international, reliable, safe pair of hands. As a number 2, I don't think that's a bad option, personally. We're going to have a lot of, you know, Luke Faxon's coming through. What could a steady head like John Ruddy do for somebody like Luke Faxon? Another young goalkeeper's coming through the ranks. I don't think he's a bad option. One that I think is a slightly better option, but in a similar bracket, is number 3, Asmir Begovic. Asmir Begovic is 36. He's 6'6", massive. Played 45 games last season for QPR. Also available on a free transfer. They are negotiating with him. They want to keep him as their number 1. But I think he could certainly do a job for a season with us. I'm not sure how happy he would be being a number 2, but I'd like to have 2 that are really dueling and battling for number 1. So Asmir Begovic makes my free list. Number 2 on the free list, and it's controversial, this, and some of you will automatically shut me down, and I understand it. Joe Wildsmith. Joe Wildsmith, 28 years old. 6 foot, so not the tallest for a goalkeeper, but look at that. 40 games for Derby last season. 20 clean sheets in League 1. 20 clean sheets. And the reason a lot of people will come back at me is he used to play for them lot. He came through their academy, I believe. Joe Wildsmith. So, a lot of players have crossed the divide for better pastures, haven't they, on the red and white side? So if he goes on to become another success for Sheffield United, I'm not against that. 28 years old, a good age. You'd probably think, however, Derby will retain him as a number 1, and he wouldn't be somebody I'd necessarily be looking at to be number 1 in our team. Now, the number 1 that I've gone for in the free agency market is a bit left field, but it's Arthur Okonkwo. And he played for Wrexham last season on loan from Arsenal. He's 22 years old. He's 6'6", 40 games and 16 clean sheets. So what you have to think is he's played in a division lower than Joe Wildsmith, and he's got less clean sheets than Joe Wildsmith. However, he's 22 years old. I think that just takes him out of tribunal status with Arsenal. 22, 6'6", athletic. I'm not talking about main man straight away. Bring him in. If you want to loan him out to League One, if we end up with 2 other decent keepers, or we can't get rid of Gerbich, then I think he's a good option. Let me know what you think to my free shouts. Those are my 5 freebies, and Okonkwo is top of my freebies. Moving on now to more realistic targets, and some names will be familiar with you here, some might not be. Target number 5 in terms of realistic transfers. Daniel Everson, Leicester City, 26 years old, 6'4", played 18 games last season, 7 clean sheets for Stoke. People forget that the season 2021-22 season, he played 46 games for Preston. And I think, looking at transfer market for values, which I don't normally rate, and I'll tell you why later, but a rough estimate is that he'd be available for around £2.5 million, €3 million, I think you're on at. What do you think? Daniel Everson. I know there were a lot of uproar when we were looking at signing him last season. He's Leicester's number 3, and we're in the Premier League. Well, now things have flipped a little bit, haven't they? And he's had half a season doing okay as a Championship number 1, and we're going down to the Championship needing a goalkeeper. So I don't think that's a terrible shout, personally. My number 4 on the list, Mark Travers at Bournemouth. Another one to play for Stoke. It's going to become a bit of a pattern, this, I think, to be honest. So Mark Travers, 25 years old, 6'3", played 13 games for Stoke, so was obviously in before Daniel Everson, and then he got recalled in October due to an injury at Bournemouth and played 4 games for them that season before their number 1, is it Neto, came back. £3 million rumoured fee. I don't think that's a bad shout at 25-year-old. Depends how much money we're going to have to, we're going to have to play around with. Both of these boys have been on loan, so you've got to think they would also be available for loan if we were strapped for cash. That's why I think it's a realistic signing. The next one, again, will probably be a little bit controversial. James Beadle. Now, this is a Brighton player. Whatever anybody says, this is a Brighton player. 19 years old, 6'7". I can't believe that's right, but I double checked it. It said 6'7". And I think they had him down as something like £1 million on transfer market, which is why I don't trust it. No way are Chelsea letting a prospect who did well in the Championship for them back end of last season. No way they're letting him go for such a low price. So I'm thinking a loan, perhaps a loan to buy for young Jimmy Beadle, who played 19 games and kept 8 clean sheets for them 19 years old. 19. Not too dissimilar from James Trafford, really, in terms of record and pedigree. I think it's decent to have a little look at that. My number two for realistic goalkeeper signings for the Ramble is Freddie Woodman, Preston, 27 years old, 6'2", £3.5 million rumoured to be the amount that would get him out of Preston. I think we'd be lucky, to be honest. I don't know. I think it's fair, probably. His record isn't great last season. 44 games, 10 clean sheets. Not brilliant, but always been a really solid option at Championship level. He's obviously still young at 27. He seems to have been around forever. We were at Newcastle, I believe, before Preston. A bit of a coup for Preston when they got him. And that'd be a lot of money to spend, but he can be a goalkeeper for the next 7-8 years, can't he, if you get him? So it's sometimes worth spending. My number 1 realistic target for Sheffield United. And this might surprise some people. Drum roll. Nathan Baxter. And there's a few things to take into consideration with this pick. Nathan Baxter is 25. He's injury prone. He's been a little bit injury prone. However, he's had a decent season for Bolton this year after getting fit again. I think he were at Hull on loan from Chelsea when he got his injury at first. He's still in contract for another year with Bolton, but he played 36 games for him last season, keeping 14 clean sheets. They signed him for nothing. And with him being a League One goalkeeper, I think we could potentially get him out of there for as low as £2 million. So that's why he's ahead of people like Freddie Woodman and James Beadle, because this is a permanent keeper we can get for pretty much half the price and a very good prospect of a keeper as well. They're my sort of where we stand at the minute. Those would be realistic signings for us today for the squad and the club situation as we know it. Now, there's optimism around the club at the moment, as we know, because there's potential takeover and there's a lot of positive speak about it. So I'm going to move on now to me. Top 5 ideal signings for goalkeepers. And you let me know whether you agree with me or not in the comments. Number 5 is Altay Bayindir. Can't even say his name properly. 26 years old, 6'6", a Man United goalkeeper who I think we could get on loan, potentially loan to buy, but you're talking as high as £9 million. Now, they only signed him for 4.3 million. He's got 8 caps for Turkey. He played 1 game for Man United. So to say they'd be demanding double what they paid for him, more than double, I think he's listed as 10 million euros on transfer market. Prior to signing for Man United, he played 40 games for Fenerbahce in the 22-23 season. And at that time, believe it or not, Sheffield United were linked with him. And we were in discussions with a loan to buy deal in the last summer. Man U came in. Obviously, Man U turns most people's heads. And he signed for Man U. Understandably so to some. But this is somebody we were looking at previously. So is it somebody we'll go back to? Even just as a loan deal? Maybe. Maybe not. Ideal signing. Number 4. Anthony Patterson. That's a bit of a blurry picture, isn't it? Anthony Patterson, Sunderland, linked with United. Sunderland's number 1, 24 years old, 6'2", good pedigree. I believe he's come through their youth system. It's been rumoured for an £8 million fee, which I think is decent, to be honest. 45 games, 13 clean sheets this season for Sunderland. I like him. I like him as a goalkeeper, but he's not cheap. So he's an ideal option, and my number 4 ideal option, if I'm honest. So then we come to some big hitters, my top 3 ideal goalkeepers for Sheffield United. Now, obviously, special mention to somebody who's already gone. Victor Johansson was definitely going to be in this mix. He might have even made it onto the realistic list because he was certainly gettable. We've not gone and got him, have we? But number 3, and it seems unlikely at the moment, but depending on if we get some money or not, and you've also got to think, he's no longer number 1 at his club, this guy, and he'll want to be a number 1 somewhere. Sam Johnston. We will struggle to buy him outright unless we have some serious money from a takeover. Rumoured to be available for around £9 million, which is ridiculous at 31 years old. He's 6'4", obviously ex-England international. I think a loan is not out of the question. Whether we could agree a loan to buy or not, I'm not entirely sure. But I think Sam Johnston, for me, would be an unbelievable signing. Really solid goalkeeper, sorts your goalkeeping position out. Again, whether it's realistic or not, who knows? We shall see. Number 2 on the list. You've heard him mentioned in quiet corners. I believe it's somebody that the club is keen on, which is why you might have heard it in other places as well. Carl Rushworth. Carl Rushworth, 22 years old, 6'2", loan or ideally a loan to buy deal. This kid is unbelievable. More I've looked into him, more I've watched him, more impressed I've been with him. And I've tried not to mention him too much because obviously if we know that we're interested and we start touting his name around on streams and stuff, then we never want to ruin deals. But he has done it properly. So he's done like the Dean Henderson route, if you like. The 2021 season, he was at Walsall on loan in League 2, played 43 times. The following season, he went in 22-23, he went to Lincoln in League 1 and played 42 times. This season, he's been at Swansea in the Championship and played 46 games. So he's done that. I think Dean Henderson were at Grimsby, I believe, in League Two, Shrewsbury in League One, Sheffield United in Championship, and Sheffield United in Premier League. That is an ideal path for your continuous development. If you're plotting out development for a youngster, that is exactly how you'd want it to be. I wish we had the resources and we have got the youth players, but in terms of our first team strength, we sometimes need them, so we can't always commit to that sort of deal. Yeah, Carl Rushworth would be an absolutely unbelievable deal. And he's just pipped to the post by somebody who you won't be surprised is top of my list, because he's been top of my list for the last... We've been rambling now. It'll be 2 years in September. And ever since I started, this guy's been on the list. Michael Cooper. 24 years old, 6'1". And I've guessed, and it's a guesstimate because he's on transfer market at €1 million, which is ridiculous. So when anybody uses transfer market to give you player values, it's not the one. He was rumoured to be going to Celtic for £8 million. I think we'd get him out of there for 4. 24 years old, has had problems with injuries in the past, but some player, previously been League One team of the season. Just, I think he could be our goalkeeper for the next 10 years easily if we just put that initial investment in. He's not going to be on a big wage at Plymouth. He beats out Rushworth because he's a permanent deal and he's on, it's a lower outlay for me. Rushworth might have a higher ceiling, but for me, Michael Cooper is the one that we need to be looking at. So that is my list. That is my list of frees, realistic signings, and also ideal signings for our goalkeepers. Let me know what you think. I'm going to jump into your comments now. We've got over 250 people here, so thank you to everybody for jumping on and joining us. Danny Boy starts us off. I know it's a big shout, but Karius from Newcastle. He's not on my list, mate. He's not on my list. Just checked out a contract. He's 30, got experience in the Prem, decent between the sticks and won't cost much. Saves a loan slot too. Win-win. I understand that, Danny. I know, I understand that, but I think he'll be on a heck of a wage. So he's not the one for me. And with these players, I've tried to look at those that have played a fair amount of football. We look at what's happened to Ivo Gerbic, who's come in playing very little football. And it don't tend to go too well, does it? Stu agrees with you, though, Danny, that Karius is a good shout, and he'd like to think if we get taken over, Cooper looks a top prospect, but a freebie in Karius is also a good shout. Nice. Danny says, I know he was back up at Newcastle, but did okay when he came into the side. If he got week in, week out games, his confidence will go up as well as his form. If that's for us, it's a winner there, Jimmy. Well, that's your opinion, Danny. I tend to disagree. I'm not saying it's a bad shout at all, but you can see how many keepers are available and there'll be varying opinions, which is why I've tried to lay it out as clearly as I can as to why. David agrees on Karius, thinks it's a good shout. Action location. The one to get if we can afford is Michael Cooper. Maybe the potential new owners will go for a quality keeper. We know that what happens when we scrimp, don't we? Absolutely right. Scott, good evening, pal. I'd love us to sign a goalkeeper. I think we need an established number one to be part of the team moving forward. Would like Cooper from Plymouth. If alone, Rushworth or even Beadle. Nice. Nice. Up the Ramble, up the Blades. Top man, Scott. We think along the same lines, clearly. Evening, Bri. Let's be clear, any keeper's better than garbage. Been a waste of resources. Let's hope we spend our money wisely. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. Thank you, pal. I agree, mate. I agree. It's not worked out, has it, for Ivo? Would love Cooper. Local news here saying Rooney doesn't want to sell, but 2 of the above would be good. Up the Ramble, up the Blades, like and hit the thumbs up. That is liking the video and subscribe as well if you're new. Evening, Jimmy. Good evening, Tom. One position we can't scrimp on is goalkeeper. If it means spending half the budget to get the man, do it. A good keeper can be worth 15 to 20 points a season. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. I wouldn't be blowing half the budget, but there are some decent options on a free for a backup goalkeeper there, I think. But for a number one, we need to go all out for me. Would you agree, Jimmy, that a solid keeper is the place to start the rebuild? Without that, we're always vulnerable, surely. Completely agree, Tim. Completely agree. I always remember, and I'm not a big fan, but obviously I live local. When Leeds were when they bought Nigel Martin and they strengthened their defence completely and focused on rebuilding that entire team, but strengthening the back line. And there must have been 20 0-0s that season for Leeds because they still couldn't score, but they focused on shutting the back door, which is so key. And then they build on it going forward later on. Up the Ramble, like and subscribe, says Danny. Thank you, pal. Hope you're okay, mate. Logan says, hiya, Jimmy. Have you thought about uploading the Rambles to Spotify so people can listen on the go instead of having to have a phone, laptop when watching? Thank you for mentioning this, pal, because it is part of our plans this close season. In fact, I've spent the day off today just going through loads of Ramble stuff and how we can get better and how we can progress and how we can move it forward and move into an audio platform as well as YouTube is on the cards. So thank you for that, and thank you for bringing awareness to it. Rodak from Fulham. A lot of people are mentioning Rodak. Decent goalkeeper. Not played regular football. Also, a lot of people think he's going for note at the end of the season because he's out of contract. But on transfer market, and whether that's reliable or not, Fulham have got an option to keep him. So if people show interest in Rodak, they will extend the deal and ask for a fee. Lee says a few options to buy. Tickle, Wigan, good goalkeeper, but he's just signed a new 4-year contract. I'm not saying you can't get him out of there, but you'll be paying more than you would have been. Grimshaw at Blackpool, I don't know enough about him, to be fair, to dismiss that. Rodak at Fulham, again, we've just talked about in terms of he's not a free. Is that Matt Ryan? Is that Matt Ryan at AZ? Alkmaar? And coming at Oxford, I think he's played really well this season. In fact, I've omitted him without even thinking about it, really. But I think Oxford, having got promoted, will be desperate to get him back there. And he'll definitely be their number one, won't he? But it's a good shout, that, Lee, to be fair, mate. No one can be as bad as what we've got, says Ollie. No, I agree. Hi, Jimmy, do you think a loan option in net would help us more than a permanent? I know it's nice to have someone to know is your player, but less wages to pay and maybe have future buy option. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. For me, Cole, it doesn't. If they're an upgrade and they do the job, essentially that's the bottom line, isn't it? That's where you start. If we can get a player of Sam Johnston's quality but only on loan, then I'm okay with it because it's a quality goalkeeper. I think James Beadle would only get on loan. Mike Cooper is top of my list because he's a reasonable fee and he's a goalkeeper that we don't have to keep going through the same rigmarole year after year. So I would always prefer a permanent option personally. The other option, obviously, is somebody like a Rushworth, who, if we can get a buy option on promotion, then we're laughing, aren't we? But lots of ifs and buts, lots of different connotations, but that's why we love talking about, isn't it? Dave Leary, Platinum Rambler. You smell amazing. Why are we selling Gerbich? He'll come good. No, I can't do it. I'll drive him to the airport. I think whoever we sign will be indicative of our ambition. Here's hoping the checkbook comes out hard. Completely agree. This will set the tone, won't it? I'm not saying goalkeeper will be the first signing, but your goalkeeper is a bit of a line in the sand, isn't it? It's a bit of a statement signing. It is for me anyway. Now then, Jimmy says, Sonny, what's your goalkeeper preference? I want a young, upcoming keeper, as we're recruited in Henderson, but I wouldn't mind someone with experience who is reliable. What's your thoughts? Hopefully, Sonny, that has given you a bit of an insight into my thoughts. Let me know if you agree. Hi, Jimmy. Is that a new trim I see? Yes, it is, pal. Yes, it is. Carrius, I'm sceptical. Rodak on a free? Yes, but Rodak's not available on a free, we don't think. Are we having an election watch along? No, we're not, mate. No, we are not. We are having Euro 2024 watch along for the England games on our second channel, Jimmy Ramble. If you haven't already, go over there and subscribe if you would. Simon Gregory, I don't know nothing about keepers, but like and subscribe, everyone. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Thank you, Simon Gregory. I have now stopped calling you Steve McDonald, so very much respect to that comment. Thank you very much. I want a keeper who can save at least 3 shots a game. I know, not concede at least 5 a game. Can't be too hard, can it? And you'd think so, wouldn't you, Cole? You'd think it wouldn't be that hard. I'd take a look at Etheridge for backup or that Nichols for number 1. Can't be much worse than we have. I had a look at Lee Nichols. Lee Nichols is still in contract. I thought he'd be out of contract, which is why they'd have dropped him for Chris Maxwell last game. He's at Huddersfield, isn't he? I mean, now they've got a new manager. He might have new ideas, but I think it looked like they were trying to nudge Nichols out and maybe get a fee for him. I won't pay money for Lee Nichols. He's 31 now, but which doesn't put me off. But I think there's better keepers out there that you'd pay a fee for. Etheridge has not played enough football for me. He's been number 2 to John Ruddy. So if we're looking at a keeper as a backup, I'd be looking at somebody like John Ruddy, personally. Wouldn't mind Simon Moore free for a second choice. It was never really championship quality for me, Sonny. I think he did really well for us in League One. 6 foot is quite short for a goalkeeper, says Scott. It is, mate. It is. Ruddy to be a goalkeeper coach. I'd still want him as backup, to be honest. He had a great season before last. Arthur Okonkwo from Arsenal says, Jamie is my choice. Played well at Wrexham last season. Good man. Love that. Loving the content at the minute, Jimmy. It gets better every stream, mate. Thank you, pal. Thank you. Been working hard on it, and I'm trying to trial what it'd be like if we could really put some proper, not that we've never put effort in before, but if I'm able to concentrate all my time on the Ramble, took a day off work today, not just for that, but there are other things, other reasons for it. But I've thrown myself into Ramble today and I've prepared this for a while. You might not always see the time and effort that goes in, but I've loved it. I've loved it. And if this were to become a full-time gig, absolutely unreal. And hopefully we can churn out more content. Yeah, okay. I'll start, guys, says Scott. Wildsmith, no. Okay. I've always fancied Joe Wildsmith as an option, says Maury Blades. There you go. Contrasting opinions. That's what we're about here, isn't it? Having your say, free of criticism or any of that stuff. I'd rather have him, Okonkwo. Yeah, Okonkwo I like, Jamie. I think it's a decent option at 22-year-old as well. Everson was my number 1 target to replace Gerbich, says Scott. Scott, you can't name every keeper that we're linked with and say it with your shout. I saw you in chat earlier saying that Rushworth were your shout and now he's been linked with Ipswich. Oh, no, he was my number 1 choice. Now tonight, it's Everson was my number 1 choice. If we get Mike Cooper, that'll be your number 1 choice. Unbelievable. And he costs the same as Garbage and he's better, meaning Joe Wildsmith. Yeah, absolutely. How much did he cost, Joe Wildsmith? 2 mil for Joe Wildsmith? Okonkwo or Roberts, not a bad shout from the freeze for a backup, says Lee. Thank you, mate. Thank you. You know your stuff, you. Platinum Rambler Lee. Hi, Jimmy. John Ruddy's a good call. Also would make a good goalkeeper coach. Also, Wrexham goalkeeper, future legend, still learning his trade. Thank you, Kev, one of our Ramblers. Ian, not a problem having X Wednesday. Remember, Bromby, Geary, and others did a good job for us. Alan Quinn as well. There'll be more. There'll be loads more that we're forgetting. Freddie Woodman is perfect for us, says Sonny. He has a good championship experience and seems to be commanding in his box. Okonkwo or Woodman for me, says Jamie. So I've turned your head a little bit with Woodman. I like that. Any of them will do a job for us, says the Saint. Hopefully we're on the front foot anyway. Always like Woodman and would not have any problem with signing him, says Lee. I'm same. I like him. Weren't we linked with him the other season? I can't remember us being directly linked with him. I'm not saying we don't. Get liking this video for Jimmy's fresh fade, lads. Love the channel, Jimmy. Up the blades, up the Ramble. Like and subscribe. Thank you for everybody for their support. Very much appreciated. Good evening, H. Is that H from Steps? If so, big fan. Big fan. You mentioned Wildsmith, but how about Cameron Dawson? Them the dark side are going to release him. Will make a decent number 2 for us. I just can't bring myself to go. I appreciate that, Ray. I know what you're saying, pal. I just can't. I can't go too all in. Joe Wildsmith has just done a great job for Derby, hasn't he? 20 clean sheets in 40 games, 50% clean sheet record is unbelievable. And then Beadle is not their player. He's just gone to them and done a good job. How much would it stick it to him if we ended up with him for a season and he saved a penalty against them or something like that? Do you know what I mean? I love it. Up the blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. Sam Tickle also at Wigan, says Jamie. Again, he's signed a new contract. So it's less likely to get him out of there. I'm not saying people can't get him out of there. It might just be to protect Wigan a little bit. H from Steps says, hi, Jimmy. Curveball, loaning Kelleher from Liverpool. Get Andrews and Geary to have a chat with him as his 3rd choice, and rumours with Ramsdale linked with Reds. Kelleher, he'll be on a lot of money. Might be a bit of a tragedy if we got him in. Give Sam 5 million, take it or leave it. Sam. Give Sam 5 million, take it or leave it. You've lost me, Sainty boy. Oh, Sam Johnston. Yeah, so what? Buy him for 5 million, take it or leave it. Crawley Town goalkeeper. Add her, I think. Terry, I'll take your word for it, pal. Don't know the Crawley Town goalkeeper. I looked as far down as like the Stevenage goalkeeper, but there were so many names. I've had to chop this list down significantly today. And Jamie says, you mean Adai? Okay. Jimmy, they're 2 big goalkeepers, need some high-class goal. Come on then, Andy. Come on then. If you don't like my list, who have you got? Who have you got, pal? You let me know. Any of the top 3 ideal signings will do, Jimmy. I agree, mate. I agree. So with that was Sam Johnston, Carl Rushworth, and Michael Cooper, the boy. All top-notch on each list, I'd agree. Thank you, Danny boy. Thank you, mate. A lot of money, most of them, but it's a decade investment. I agree. On the ideal list, that's right. Yeah, if you're going to drop 8 million on a Patterson, for example, it's a lot of money. There's 24. Is he 24? Patterson? Yeah, 24. Spoiler, I've got some notes this time. Had to do it. Cooper or Rushworth, Beadle, but Johnston is a good one to get, says David. Thank you, mate. Platinum Rambler. Okonkwo, Woodman, Tickle, maybe Cooper, I can get him. You can get on board with him, can you, Jamie? I like that. Goalkeeper with the surname Baxter. Been here before, haven't we? No relation. I've checked. No relation to Lee Baxter. Nice haircut. You lost against the lawnmower then? Yes, I did. Yeah, I did. All right. There's no need for that, is there? Like I say, if it's £2 off when I'm weighing myself at Ramble Fitness Journey, then it's a win, innit? It's a win. Who's your top 3 goalkeeper signings we could get out for the count? That's what we've been here for. You'll have to wind back, mate. You'll have to wind back and see. I've done my lists. Adverts on your lives, you're a disgrace. YouTube sort it out, not you, Ramble. All right, sorry. Okay. Yeah, that's what happens. That's what keeps the lights on. Obviously, we have to put adverts in there, but you can set how often adverts come in, and we set them to moderate rather. I know a few channels that go to spam adverts, but it's not fair on the viewer. I understand it, mate. It's frustrating, isn't it? But par for the course. Keeps the lights on at Ramble HQ, like I say. Harry Ambler at Penistone Church, says Dino. 6'2", eyes of blue, and owes me 2 pints. Up the Blades, up the Ram. I'm sure he could pay for 2 pints if he signs for United. Harry Ambler, get yourself down for a trial, pal. Good evening, Rich. Platinum Rambler. Evening, Prince Abdullah. Great list. Realistic Woodman from Preston is my pick. Another keeper I like, Ben Wilson from Coventry, was in team this season a couple of years ago. Ha, 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 Rich. Ha. I did Ben Wilson research because I knew you'd pull this card. I knew it because you're a Ben Wilson fanboy. Ben Wilson was in the team of the season a couple of years ago at Coventry. This season, he got dropped halfway through the season after a really poor start. In fact, I've got his stats here. Ben Wilson, 31 years old, 6'1", 18 games, only 4 clean sheets for Coventry. Lost his place to Brad Collins. It's a big no from me, Rich. It's a big no, I'm afraid. Not that I don't respect your opinion, but in the Platinum chat, you can go a little bit harder. Just convert the stream to MP3 and listen when you can. Convert it. I will get it on a proper podcast platform. You don't have to convert the stream to MP3. But that's the saying, giving you a workaround. So thank you for the other options. Can't stay on too long, Jimmy. Sometimes an hour is a bit too long. No, I'm not Mrs. Ramble. Top vid as ever. We'll catch up on the rest tomorrow. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Well, thank you. I think. Okay, sorry for being a bore. I've not seen many, if any, better championship keepers than Wes, says Michael. Look, you're a Rambler, I respect you, but wow. As we've seen with Ivo, careful what you wish for. Tickle and Grimshaw couldn't lace his boots for me, Jimmy. Up the Ramble. Thank you, pal. I ain't gone for, I like Tickle, to be fair. And if he hadn't signed a deal, it'd have probably been on one of my lists. But yeah, I haven't seen enough of Grimshaw. But Wes wants to go and sit on West Ham's changing room, near mind on bench. So that's up to him. Definitely want a keeper that's ours and not loans every year, says the Saint. Lad from Lincoln, Jensen, I think he's called. Yeah, I had a look at that. Again, it's been a tough list to get down, Matt, to be fair, mate. But yeah, he's decent, done well this season. Lincoln have got a few decent players. Saw something on X that that Garage Ivo Garbage has been linked to Getafe. We can only hope. Yes, I've seen a link in our chat mentioning that he might be going to Getafe. More for them. Living here in Cornwall, says David. I see a lot of Cooper. He's quality and certainly a great signing. Have a word then, David. Have a word, pal. See if you can get him over. Do I think Snooker will leave? Hopefully not. The home of Snooker is our Sheffield. I'm not sure, pal. I don't know enough about it. You're obviously talking about the Crucible. Certainly hope not, because again, it's like you say, it is the home of Snooker, isn't it? But again, that's kind of left field and a bit of a tangent, to be fair. But I hope not, mate. I hope not. Linked to Getafe, says Sam. I think you were just tidying up your earlier comment, but yeah, let's hope so. Evening, Jimmy. Good evening, Andrew, mate. We need a brick wall this season as we're all fed up of watching all the goals last season, but Cooper for me, up the Ramble, up the Blades. Jebbo is definitely not signing now with all the interest in him. What's that Clarkson gif? Oh, no. Anyway, nah, not for me. Not for me, Jebbo. If you don't want to be here, off you pop. And if you do want to be here, brilliant. Congratulations to Jebbo, who's just got engaged. Edison wants out of City. Can we afford him? No, we can't. He's going to Saudi, isn't he? I heard that Edison were off to Saudi. I personally start the rebuild from the back, goalkeeper and defence. We need a back line like we had when we bounced from League One to Premier League. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Well said, Danny. I agree, mate. Have we been linked with anyone yet? Sorry, late to the party. Not officially. Not out in the open, I don't believe. But I think it's an ever-moving beast, to be honest. Jimmy, our list of number 1 out of 15 for me is Johnston. Great call. Thought the season had finished, but like United, our ass is kicking off every 10 minutes. Oh, I know, mate. We're still here, and we'll still be going through close season, don't you worry. Alan Hodgkinson, 5'9", one of the best keepers we ever had. Size in, everything, Jimmy. Thank God for that. Now get another quality keeper. Michael Cooper, up the Blades, up the Ramble. Like and subscribe. Thank you, pal. Jebbo can go. Not exactly amazing. I meant Daniel Everson. All right, okay. Got you. Again, you meant Altai Bayandir. Should have mentioned the name. Never mind, pal. Never mind. You speak lies, Mr. Ramble. You can go through Ramble chat and say I backed Everson. You did, as well as 7, 8, 9, and 10 other goalkeepers. It's all right, Scotty. It's all right. You're allowed to do it. Just don't claim that you were the first one to say it. Danny Chap agreed. Be solid at the back, and you're on tour winner. Good evening, Susan, one of our platinum Ramblers. Hey, Jimmy, very impressive knowledge from the Ramblers, and always a very well-researched piece from you. Up the Ramble, like and subscribe. Thank you, Susan. This certainly was a thoroughly, I don't know about very well, but thank you, a thoroughly researched piece from me. First time in ages. So you're always, as always, I'm obviously blagging it pretty well, but thank you very much for the kind comment. Me, myself, and Hamer Time. What about the Arsenal kid who was at Wrexham? Out of contract this summer. You're behind, Hamer Time. You're behind. Go back and look at the list. He's on he's top of our freebies. Sonny says Rushworth is another Dean Henderson waiting to happen. I agree. Hopefully Cowboys can get him on loan to buy. Yeah, absolutely right. Let's hope so. I like Rushworth as backup, says Mr. Van. Backup? But still not decided on my pick for number 1. Up the Blades, up the... We are not getting Rushworth as a backup keeper. If he comes, we'll have to guarantee that he's our number 1 keeper. And we'd want to be honest, he's good enough to be a number 1 in the Championship. I think he's... I know we're interested. Brighton wanted to have a look at him. I know that we're interested. But Brighton have said, look, we want to take him back and see where he is, check his progress. They might have a little look at him themselves. Ipswich are now said to be interested. So you'd probably think if they don't want to sell him, he might end up on loan at Ipswich in the Premier League. Because they could, it's Premier League football, isn't it? So, but if we can get a sniff of getting him in, brilliant. Granted, he was playing in a bad team that sent Dieng at QPR is steady away. I think he would be better with a decent defence in front of him. Sonny Dieng is at Middlesbrough, and he has been for a couple of years, I think. They signed him for about 10. They signed him for a decent amount, but Sonny Dieng, because I liked him myself, and I think I mentioned him in one of my very early videos of this ilk, but he's now at Middlesbrough. So we won't get him out of there. He's their number 1, I think. Paddy Kelly, Kenny Ori and Bennett, take your pick. Gerbich to Getafe, my condolences to them. Let's not mention it. He's brilliant. If they're watching, because I know Getafe scouts definitely watch the Ramble. Yeah, he's great. He's great. Ain't Mr. Tickle got really long arms, won't have to dive. Somebody had to say it, David. Somebody had to say it. Love that. Benno for me, pal. Went to school with him. Cracking lad and a decent fly half as well. Ian Bennett. Oh, nice. Okay. Interesting. Seni Dieng. Yeah. Sorry, Sam. As I say, that's what we were talking about earlier. Don't know why, but this rebuild is giving me so much anxiety, says Jack. Hopefully we can get some quality players in. Absolutely, mate. I'm sure we can. Mr. V agrees with action location. Hodgie was a great keeper at 5'9". Size definitely doesn't always matter. Ask my girlfriend. Wow. Let's keep it clean on the Ramble, Mr. V. And go get Wendy's keeper just for bants, says the same. That is it. I've hit everybody's comments in just over 45 minutes. So thank you to everybody for your support on this video. Let me know in the comments what you think. I know a lot of you that are already here, but even those of you that are watching after the live, let me know if you agree, if you've got any other suggestions that we could look at. So you know my top picks now. We'll have a little bit of an idea in terms of if the takeover is going to be completed. I nearly said when then, as if it's definitely nailed on, but we'll know in the coming days and weeks, I would say, rather than months, what's happening with the team, how much we're going to be spending. Things will start to move. So yeah, let me know what you think. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards. Oh my goodness. Went to the wrong bit. Come on, you red and white wizards. Style it out. It never happened. Up the blade.